Check this out, BCM Raider here, bringing you another Commander deck tech, and today I have a channel first with my first opening of a full-length comprehensive deck tech on a pre-con. This one is from 2022. It's a starter Commander deck, and its name is First Flight. This is a Azorious colored blue-white Flyers Matters build. So primarily just by looking at this, we're going to focus on all of our creatures having flying and possibly gaining life or drawing cards. I'm not sure without actually opening it. The commander itself is Tex-Isperia Supreme Judge. This is a kind of high casting cost commander. It is a 6/4, however, and has a static ability. Whenever a creature attacks us or a planeswalker we control, we get to draw a card. Let's open this up and go through its contents and see what we get and what we can actually do with this. This is going to be a very good budget list if you're relatively new to Magic the Gathering or the Commander format. This is kind of priced about $30 to $35 right now, so that's a pretty good entry point if you guys are trying to get into Commander. I know most of the full-length Commander deck techs that I've already showcased on my channel are kind of on the more higher end price-wise and kind of geared more towards the final aspect of what a deck can be. But sometimes it's very good just to stop and go back to the original budget, because Commander decks should never be about how much money you've invested into the deck. It's, does the game create a lot of fun for you and your friends while you're playing Commander? So let's get right into this. Alright, here's the deck itself. I've never actually opened these before, so I don't know pretty much what to expect here. So, but it looks like it comes with a rule guide, stuff like that. That's kind of cool. And here's the deck itself. Okay. We have Archon of Redemption. Whenever Archon of Redemption or another creature with flying enters the battlefield, we get to gain life equal to that creature's power. Now there's Cartographer's Hawk. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player that controls more lands than you, you can return Cartographer's Hawk back to your hand, and if you did, you get to search your library for a Plains card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. Now we have Cleansing Nova. You can choose to destroy all creatures or destroy all artifacts and enchantments. Now we have a Myria Angel. Whenever another land enters the battlefield under your control, you're going to create a 1/1 white bird with flying. There is one planeswalker. It's Gideon Jura. It's going to enter the battlefield with 6 loyalty counters on it. You're going to +2 it, and target opponent will have to attack Gideon Jura rather than be able to attack you. Or you can -2 it, destroy target tap creature, or -0. Until end of turn, Gideon Jura will become a 6/6 human soldier that will prevent all damage that would be dealt to him that turn. Next, there's Hanged Executioner. When this enters the battlefield, you're going to create a 1/1 white spirit with flying, or you can pay 3 colorless and a white. You can exile Hanged Executioner to exile another target creature. Now there's Remorseful Cleric. You can sacrifice it to exile target player's graveyard if there's something in there you really need to get rid of. Now there's Safara, Sky's Blade. You can pay 1 white and tap 4 untap creatures you control with flying rather than pay its mana cost, because 7 mana is kind of a lot, and if there's a alternate casting cost, that's going to be very beneficial for us. This also has flying and lifelink, but has the static ability other creatures we control with flying are indestructible. Now we have Steel Plume Marshal, and whenever Steel Plume Marshal attacks, other attacking creatures with flying will get +2/+2. Now we have Storm Herd. This costs 10 mana, but you're going to create X 1/1 white Pegasus creatures with flying, where X is your life total. So if we're going to gain a lot of life, we might as well create a lot of creatures that have flying. Now there's True Conviction. Creatures will have double strike and lifelink. That's going to be very, very good for us because not only are we going to deal more damage to our opponents, but we're going to gain a lot more life. Now we have Angler Turtle. This is a 5/7 with hexproof, and creatures your opponents control have to attack each combat if able. Now we have Biden of Thassa. Whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, we get to draw a card. Or we can activate it, and creatures our opponents control have to attack that turn. Now we have Diluvian Primordial, and when it enters the battlefield for each opponent, we get to cast up to one target instant or sorcery from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. And if a spell cast that way would be put into a graveyard, you get to exile it instead. Okay, now there's Everwatching Threshold. Whenever any opponent attacks, if they attacked us or a planeswalker we control, we get to draw a card. Next is Fairy Formation. This is a 5/4 with an activated ability where we can pay 4 and create a 1/1 blue fairy, and we get to draw a card. Next is Gravitational Shift. Creatures we control with flying will get +2/+0, and creatures without flying will get -2/-0. Now we have Inspired Sphinx. When an Inspired Sphinx enters the battlefield, we get to draw cards equal to the number of opponents we have, and we can pay 4 and create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Now we have Sharding Sphinx. This one is actually quite powerful. Whenever any artifact creature we control deals combat damage to a player, we're going to create that many 1/1 blue Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. Now we have Sphinx of Enlightenment. Whenever Sphinx of Enlightenment enters the battlefield, target opponent will draw a card, and we get to draw 3 cards. Now we have Wind Reader Sphinx. Whenever any creature with flying attacks, we get to draw a card. This also triggers for our opponent's creatures too. So if our opponent's creatures have flying, we still get to draw a card. Now we have Absorb. We're going to counter target spell, and we get to gain 3 life. Now we have Skycat Sovereign. He'll get +1/+1 for each other creature we control that has flying, or we can pay 4, create a 1/1 Catbird token with flying. Now we have Sphinx's Revelation. Depending on how much mana we put into X, we're going to gain X life and draw X cards. Now we have some more removal with Time Wipe. We get to return a creature back to our hand and then destroy all other creatures. Now we have Aven Gagglemaster. This is a 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, we're going to gain 2 life for each creature we control with flying. Now we have Banishing Light. We're going to exile target non-land permanent a opponent controls until Banishing Light leaves the battlefield. Now we have Crush Contraband. We can choose one or both. We can exile target artifact or exile target enchantment. Now we have Condemn. We get to put target attacking creature on the bottom of its owner's library, and then we get to gain life equal to its toughness. Now we have good old Disenchant. Instant speed, you get to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Now we have Generous Gift. We get to destroy target permanent, and its controller creates a 3/3 elephant. Now we have Kanji's Lieutenant. Whenever Kanji's Lieutenant attacks, attacking creatures with flying will get +1/+1, and this has Encore. For 5 colorless and a white, we can exile this card from our graveyard, and then for each opponent, we're going to create a token copy that's going to attack that player. Now we have Rally of Wings. We get to untap all creatures we control, and then creatures with flying will get +2/+2. Now we have Soul Snare. We're going to pay 1 white, sacrifice Soul Snare, and exile target creature that's attacking us or a planeswalker we control. Of course, we have Swords of the Plowshares. We're going to exile target creature and then gain life equal to the exiled creature's power. Now we have Tide Skimmer. This is a 2/3 flyer. Whenever we attack with 2 or more creatures with flying, we get to draw a card. Now we have Warden of Avos Isle. Creature spells with flying that we cast will cost 1 colorless less to cast. Now we have Winged Words. This spell will cost 1 colorless less to cast if we control a creature with flying, and if we did, we get to draw 2 cards. 2 mana to draw 2 cards is actually very, very beneficial. Now we got my personal favorite with Cloud Blazer. This is a 2/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, we get to gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Next, we have Empyrean Eagle. Other creatures we control that have flying will get +1/+1. Now we have Jubilant Skybonder. Creatures we control with flying will have spells your opponents cast to target that creature will cost 2 colorless more to cast. So he kind of gives ward to all of our flying creatures. Now we have Kanji Skywarden. Whenever Kanji Skywarden attacks, each creature we control with flying will get +2/+0, and whenever Kanji blocks, each of those creatures that had flying will get +0/+2. So if we're attacking, we're going to deal more damage, and if we're blocking, he's going to help protect all our creatures that have flying. Now we have Migratory Route. We're going to create 4 1/1 white bird creature tokens with flying. This also has basic land cycling, so for 2 colorless we can discard this and then search our library for a basic land and put that into our hand. Now we have Staggering Insight. We're going to enchant a creature we control, and whenever that creature deals combat damage, we get to draw a card. It'll also get +1/+1 and lifelink. Now we have Thunderclap Wyvern. This has flash, so we can cast it anytime we can cast an instant. Other creatures we control with flying will get +1/+1. So he's kind of like an instant speed flying lord. Now there's Vow of Duty. We're going to enchant a creature we control, and it's going to get +2/+2 vigilance and can't attack us or planeswalkers we control. But if you really want, we can enchant one of our opponent's creatures, and then they'll be forced to attack something else. Now we have Aetherize. We're going to return all attacking creatures back to their owner's hand. This is a good way, kind of like Settle the Wreckage. If our opponents are going to attack with a lot of creatures, we can just return all those creatures back to their hand, and then we basically take no damage. Now there's Counterspell. 2 blue, counter target spell. Now there's Favorable Winds. Creatures we control with flying will get +1/+1. Of course there's Negate, counter target non-creature spell. There's Arcane Signet, Azorious Signet, Commander Sphere. We can sacrifice Commander Sphere to draw a card if we really need to. Now there's Hedron Archive. This will tap for 2 colorless mana, or we can pay 2 colorless, sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. Now there's Pilgrim's Eye. This is a 1/1 artifact creature. When it enters the battlefield, we can search our library for a basic land and put that into our hand. Now we have Sky Diamond. This will enter the battlefield tapped, but it'll tap for 1 blue mana. Now there's Sky Scanner. When this enters the battlefield, we get to draw a card. Of course there's Soul Ring, Talisman of Progress. This can tap for a colorless mana, or tap for a blue or a white, but it'll deal 1 damage to you. And there's Thought Vessel. You have no maximum hand size, because you're going to be drawing lots of cards. You're going to want to keep all those cards in your hand. There's Command Tower, Meandering River, Sageri Refuge, Tranquil Cove, Coastal Tower, Port Town, Prairie Stream, and Temple of Epiphany as the dual lands, or lands that can produce a blue mana or a white mana. There's Moorland Haunt. There's 15 plains and 15 islands. And then there's a whole bunch of different tokens. So there's a Thopter token, a Fairy token, another Thopter, a Fairy, 2 Spirit tokens, a couple more Thopters, Fairy, Spirit, and a Thopter. And popular Magic formats. And I guess they give you this little deck box thing, which is kind of cool. So, and that was the Commander deck tech for First Flight with Tex-Isperia Supreme Judge as the Blue-White Flyers Precon. I really hope you guys enjoyed this look into an actual precon. I've never actually looked at a precon recently. Every single deck tech that I've done has always been a list that I've kind of created myself. But to go back and actually look at a product that Wizards of the Coast has created for players just to pick up and just play the game is very rewarding to see. And if you guys have any suggestions, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure there's a endless amount of cards that can be switched out, but the overall premise of Blue-White Flyers has always been a very good strategy in Commander, and you're gaining a lot of value off gaining life, drawing cards, which is pretty much what we're primarily doing in Commander anyways. But until then, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share these videos. I'll leave the link to this specific Moxfield deck list in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.